there's been this amazing event at Asbury University. They had a 24/7 revival meeting. It's called the Asbury Revival. And it's drawn tens of thousands of people, like 50,000 people, to this tiny Kentucky town over the course of 13 days just to pray. It's not political. It's not like a big Trump event. It's not like a big right-wing event. It's just a bunch of people who came to a church. And then over the course of 2 weeks, essentially, they just prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed. The fact that this has not drawn kind of intense media coverage is kind of shocking in the sense that it is a media story when 50,000 people descend on a very small town just to pray and find communion with each other and God. Like that's an amazing thing. I guess it's not that amazing the media won't cover it, because if they had been doing 50,000 people arriving for a 13-day orgy.
Have you ever been in an orgy?
Yes.
I think
Then the media would be all over it, right? Then the media would be like, this is what American society must be. When people show up to have some good, clean, wholesome prayer with one another and in conjunction with religion, that's a bad thing, and we can't really pay that much attention to it. But it is an amazing, amazing thing. And the footage from the Asbury Revival is incredible. By Thursday evening, there was standing room only. Students had begun to arrive from other universities: University of Kentucky, University of the Cumberlands, Purdue, Indiana Wesleyan, Ohio Christian University, Transylvania University, Midway, Lee University, Georgetown College, Mount Vernon Nazarene University, and many others. He said, some are calling this a revival. I know in recent years that term has become associated with political activism, but let me be clear, no one at Asbury actually has that agenda. The fact is that religion requires community. One of the things that we have done by reducing religion to spirituality is we have suggested that what religion really is about is your internal feeling of solidity with God. That is not really what religion is about. Religion does include that component, but that is not the entirety of religion. Religion requires you to commune with others. It is why it happens in churches. It is why in the Talmud it says that God rests where there are 10 people, where there are 10 men praying together. That's you have to have 10 men to form a minyan, right, in order to do certain aspects of Jewish prayer for each prayer service. We pray 3 times a day. The idea that a community is built around a common cause is what has allowed the growth of civilization. So just evolutionarily speaking, human beings have a very hard time congregating above a certain number. If you can't have that many people on the same page without a higher cause. Otherwise, they tend to break down into tribes. They tend to break down into families. What religion did, historically speaking, is it allowed people to abstract up the chain, because now you can get tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people on the same page because they were worshiping the same God and aiming for the same thing. And there is something euphoric about worshiping with tens of thousands of other people. I've done it myself. When I go to the Kotel on a Friday night, the Western Wall on a Friday night in Israel, in Jerusalem, there is that feeling of we are all here together and we're all doing the same thing and we are all oriented toward a higher purpose. That is a good thing. And that hole in the spirit is filled in our society by either nothing, which is leading to rising tides of chaos, despair, loneliness, or it's filled with really bad causes. People tend to fill it with politics. Politics tends to fill that void for a lot of people. And suddenly you're looking at political utopianism, which is why you see all of these sort of very radical political agendas that are driven forward by a feeling of community. That's why a Bernie Sanders rally, for example, turns into almost a religious revival worship service very often. People need that in their lives. People want to feel that feeling of belonging, a feeling of higher purpose, and a feeling they're part of something bigger than themselves. When that is oriented towards something proper, like a relationship with God, a God who calls on you to be moral and good toward your fellow man, that is an amazing, amazing thing. What I'm hoping is that what's happening at Asbury is the forerunner to a broader religious revival, because let's be frank about this. Without religion, society in the West is going to die. It is just that simple. The reason being, secularism cannot uphold the foundations of secularism itself. Secularism is rooted in certain preconditions that only exist because religion exists. Those preconditions include things like demographic growth, fundamental institutions like marriage, a belief in the rational ability to investigate the universe. These are all religious premises, actually, because you can't reason your way to them. And what that means is that if those things fall away, secular society just falls apart.